Hello, and thank you for joining the session. Today we're going to be continuing to work on our chatbot. On the previous session, we were able to get the real-time messaging more or less sorted. So if you're watching a live stream, you should be able to see the chat messages come through rather quickly. So this is a live message. I'm going to hit enter now. So there's a little bit of a lag, but it's still pretty reasonable, at least by my estimation. I'm going to try one from Twitch as well. Let's see, from Twitch, and enter. Cool, so both of those sources come through pretty quickly. YouTube, just by the nature of the way that YouTube is set up, it doesn't actually come through very well. I think there's anywhere from 1 to 5 second lag from when someone writes a message on YouTube to when it actually shows up in chat. That's more or less because of the way that we have to poll YouTube. I think we can poll everywhere from 1 to 3 seconds. Anyway, so we have 3 sources coming in. We're able to chat or show the chat messages on the live session on the actual website, which is pretty awesome. Going way back to previous sessions, we do have a live interface that it was more or less intended for admin purposes. So this is going to be the main thing that I'll be looking at behind the scenes to get the actual metadata about an episode as I'm watching it, or as I'm actually giving it, so that I can keep an eye on both chat and any other stats and things that I need to know about. So we've moved from the back end now to the front end so that people can actually start doing this kind of stuff and consuming these messages both live and later. So if we go back to, say, I don't remember which session it was. I think it might be session 14. Yeah, designing an API continuation token. We can see that by going there, we can see the chat that had happened during this session. And it's also time synced, so 31 minutes into the video is actually where we are in chat as well. If we switch to further into the chat, we'll see that additional chat content is showing. And turn on the volume. And if we go back to the beginning, we can see that we only show the beginning parts of the chat. So this is kind of gives us an overview of where we're at to this point. One of the features that I'd like to work on next is giving the ability for Astrocast users, so anybody who's logged in, to be able to chat on live sessions. So for example, this session right now, someone should be able to go to the website and communicate just as if they were on Twitch or Discord or YouTube. So we're going to work on that from the real-time perspective first. So we're not going to be going to, say, like session 14 and try to add content after the fact. Pause this. Infinite bows. We don't need to see that. Let's see, we got to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this time, which is pretty awesome. Anyway, so we're going to go now and add a input box so that we can start adding content. So I'm going to take a look first at what we had for our live page. So we actually had some work already set up here. And actually, if I go back, I can show us what that looks like. So astrocast.test. I can say hello and just hit enter. And this is just faking it right now. It's just appending it straight to the DOM. But this functionality already exists. It just doesn't actually send any information. So what I'm going to do is look to see what we had here, because I want to use this. One thing we're going to have to do also is probably add a Astrocast SVG image, so we can have an Astrocast message. So right now, the only 3 types we have are Twitch, Discord, and YouTube. So we're gonna have to do some work to get this actually working again. Where do we have here? Chat input form. All right, so I'm gonna copy this. See what this looks like. So I think it's just its own form. So let's copy that. Actually, just copy all of this and see how this looks just out of the box. So let's go to the bottom of chat. Just look to see where that's at. There we go. So here we have our templates, Astrocast chat. So I'm going to, at least for now, put this here. There's a bunch of things that I'm not really sure about. I did most of this work inside the Astrocasts chat web component. Unfortunately, a bunch of the actual markup lives in a template file, well, not template file, but template elements within the actual document, which just doesn't seem right to me. But I'm not exactly sure how I can do this differently just yet. So for now, I'm just kind of trying to make it work. Let's see, so we'll leave this here and reload the page. I wonder if I can turn off autoplay just for me for now. Let's look at Twitch. Embed, options, Twitch player. Embedding everything. All right, so source, autoplay, false. We need the Java. Is there a JavaScript API? Yes, must be everything. All right, there we go. So chat. Working with events, autoplay. Okay, so we can do that. Actually, I don't know. Well, let's see if we can do it. Let's do autoplay false. Let's see if I reload. It does not autoplay. All right, I'm actually happy with that, at least for now. So let's do. Got to be sure. I got to try and be careful to not let that actually go into production. But I think I'm just gonna have to be careful and try to remember, because I don't want to spend the time working on that today. All right, so I can reload this page. We can see message shows up here. I wonder, HTML disable history in input. There we go. Autocomplete off. Let's see if this works. Because I actually want that in both places if it does. Form. Supernova just joined chat, and let's see if it shows up fine. Twitch is updating. All right, so I can see that. I can see that in all the places I should. I saw it on my little admin console on my iPad below my monitor. So far, it hasn't let me down yet. So I'm pretty happy. So let's see here. So we're adding autocomplete off. Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay, cool. So that helps. Let's see. So I want to change this a little bit, but first I'm going to put that on here too. Let's see. Padding PX4. Let's turn that off. And PT0 for now. There we go. Supernova on Twitch now. Yay! Cool. So we got Discord and Twitch coming in. I must have some sort of messages template. I have margin 2. I don't know, it seems like there's more space here than I think I'd really want. So I'm going to look and see, just real quick. So I think I'm going to use the same sort of functionality that we had on the live site, that just hitting enter. Oof, okay, well, hitting enter right now doesn't do the right thing. But I don't think I'm going to have a button for live chat. If the session is recorded, if it's not in progress, then there might be a button. I'm not sure, or there'll at least be some little indicator saying when on the chat, or when on the video the chat is going to apply. So let's go ahead and copy more code. So we had chat input form. All right, so add event listener submit. All right. Actually, this is going to go into our web component. We'll go up to the main web component. So we're going to have another URL. So we're passing in author URL and polling URL. So let's add post message URL. We don't actually have this yet. All right, so we have get the chat messages, we get the author info. We're going to do this here. All right, so let's do post message. Session chat messages post. And then there's still going to be some stuff we need to do here. So that I'm just making this so that at least within Twig, we can generate the right URL. So let's do API session chat messages. Actually, we want this URL to start with. So all right, so session ID, and we'll do post. All right, so we're going to have to do this. So we're going to get the session from here. If we don't do that, then I think that Twig will just complain. We won't be able to run, or something will complain if we don't actually consume the session ID placeholder value. So let's see if we can reload the page. All right, get URL. So I need to pass it this. Along with ID, so that it knows which session the chat message should be going to. All right, so that's going in fine. So let's get const post message URL. All right. So there's a bunch of stuff here that's kind of dirty. I don't like the fact that I'm just going right into the document to get this information, but I'm leaving it. This is related to the fact that what I was talking about earlier, that these templates all live outside the component. I don't know how to fix that yet. So this is just a temporary way to get it to work. But I'm going to try and keep all of that up in this section here. So we have the chat input form. We don't need messages. So let's see here. What do we have for submit? All right, so we don't have to do anything with the old message. We don't have to do anything with scroll top, because I think what's going to happen here is that we're going to end up consuming this message via the store. So let's go ahead and do this. So we'll do Axios stock post. Do this dot. Author info URL. Huh. I don't know what author info URL. Okay. So it's actually in a different class. So we do set it in a different class. I was confused why we were doing this when we were just using them as constants. So we'll take this off. So post message URL, and let's do message chat input dot value. All right. Then from the response, we should get some, not any of this. This is too complicated. I think what we can do then is message author ID. This might actually be a good place to set our so we got to clear the chat value. So let's do that. Chat input dot value. That means we can just do this, which I kind of like. And then on the error, equals message. So if there's an error, then we don't lose the message. It'll repopulate it. That might be kind of weird. We can kind of see how it works to see if it makes sense. So after the fact, if this works correctly, I think what we're going to want to do is assume we are getting response data. We'll assume response.data is the same usual chat payload that we get. So we can do, let's see here, polling, where's the store defined? All right, we need the store. So we're going to move this below. So where we have this being used. Okay, so we're not using it. That's good. So Axios post message URL. So we can do store dot add response data. So the post will generate everything, including the message ID and all of that, and that will be returned as a JSON body response that we can then put into the store directly. So we'll also receive that same message, hopefully via polling and via pusher. So this is going to be where we'll have to do the thing where if we get a message that we've already received, to ignore it. So if things work the way I think they will, when we do post a message, it will show on the screen. It will then relatively soon after that show again, and then within, I think, 10 to 20 seconds, it'll show again a third time. So the very first time what's going to happen is the chat input value should go to blank, and then it should get its own message back because the actual chat message isn't actually working right now. All right, so let's try and see if that happens. So reload. So actually there must be a problem somewhere because it shouldn't have reloaded. How do I get this to preserve log? There we go. Chat input form. Maybe I have to hard refresh. There we go. So we got a 500 error, and the chat value came back. So we'll just do hello, and it disappears and comes back immediately because we're getting a 500 error. So this makes sense. I'm okay with this. So let's go back to here and figure out what we need to do. So so we had done this via command in the past. I think I'm going to change what I was doing here. This is not going to post 3 times or display 3 times. Let's see what this does instead, because I think we have to dispatch a command to generate the chat. So let's do this. So we'll have to get the command bus. Dispatch. And what were our messages? Message, command, record session chat message. I think, yeah. All right, so new record session chat message. So the first value is the type, and in this case, the type is going to be Astrocasts. The author ID, so we need to get the user. Let's see, how do we do that again? Settings control. Settings controller, we do that. So it's token storage interface. There we go. Oh. Because once we have the user, we'll be able to get some information about them that we need, essentially just the ID at this point. But we can also do some things to make sure that we actually have a user and things like that. So let's do token storage interface. There we go. Make sure it's a user. So source type, author ID is user, get ID. The message is going to be, what are we doing here? JSON decode. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. Data message. Timestamp and session ID. I guess new date, time, now, date, time, zone. Let's see. session get ID. And return this JSON with, I don't know, just an empty array. We just need it to be successful. So there's a couple of things that are going to happen here that I'm not sure exactly how to handle just yet. One of them is that this, it would be nice to be able to determine somehow from the database whether a chat message actually was recorded live versus added later. We don't have that capability yet. So yeah, so that's going to be one thing that we'll probably have to add to this object. The record session chat message is going to have another probably Boolean flag as to whether it was live or not. So in theory now, we should be able to do this. Okay. Cannot read property 1 of undefined. All right, well, that's fine. Author's source type. Yeah. So now this is where things fall down. And they're falling down because we now have a new source type that we weren't accounting for before. So let's go here. First things first, I believe the live site is going to have the same problem. So if I look here, yep, so it's having the same issue because it's trying to get the Astrocast type, and nothing knows about that. So we'll start out in live just because I want to. Template ID. We'll do Astrocasts. And right now, I think we'll just use build images. Let me double check to see where those are. Build assets, images. I think those might be coming from here. Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Let me see what happens if I do I'm going to do logo, see if that works. So we'll do build images, look build images, logo. It's probably going to look really weird, but I think that'll be okay. Build images logo. So it's going to be the full Astrocast logo, not just the little rocket icon. Icons. There we go. Use the same value. All right, let's see if this behaves better now. Still, it's looking at some other spot now. User map. Okay. Yeah. And then this rabbit hole is a lot of fun. Then we need to go into our author decoder, because right now it's the next problem that we're going to see is that the author info is going to return something. It'll probably return something that is passable, but it's not going to be correct. So let's reload. Yeah, so it doesn't know who it is, and we can see here that the Astrocast logo is quite small. But I'm okay with that for now. At least that part is working. So this chat message that I added here now shows up correctly. So I need to copy this same functionality now into our other chat. So let's go to user authors. There we go. So we're going to add Astrocasts. And then also there was icons. Let's do Astrocasts. Then we need to actually add Astrocasts here. So we got YouTube, copy that. And we'll do logo. Reload. And that works now. So let's do again. Sweet. All right, so that's actually working relatively quickly. And again, we're not actually getting that chat data back directly. What's happening is that this little bit of lag from enter to showing is round trip. So it's actually posting to the controller's adding a command. The consumer is consuming that command, which results in sending a pusher notification that JavaScript receives. So yeah, so the fact that this is going nicely makes me pretty happy. I would like to see now if we get another message via the polling. So let's see here if we can do maybe we don't. I didn't think we actually there. So we did get lag via that. So we didn't get anything here. The next one after post should give us hi whenever this next post, or whenever this next session 88 comes back. So maybe the code's already in place to ensure we don't get duplicates. I don't think I remember explicitly handling that. In fact, I thought I intentionally did not. So let me see here. The store might be doing this just magically. Promise. Oh, actually, it might, maybe in the store it's there, but maybe the timeline does something different. Timeline. Aha! All right, so the timeline is already looking to see. It's actually the one doing it. So if we look inside the store's data structure, what we're going to see is that it's going to consume these messages multiple times. So we should still probably do some additional checking there. But since it's not a big issue right now, maybe we won't. I'll just leave this to do here so that we can handle that later. But that explains why we're seeing this correctly. All right, so let's go back now to, I think we have a top level chat, author decoder. So this needs to be able to handle decoding Astrocast users. So decode author info, YouTube, Discord, default. So let's do Astrocasts, decode Astrocasts author. Which author? Which one of these? these would be easiest? Probably Discord, actually. So let's do so then we also need to get our user. I don't remember what we had on our user though. So I'm going to entities, user. So I know I show our avatars. Gravatar, app user, email address. Okay. Base helper. All right, so we're going to do this quick and dirty. All right. So we are going to need our user repository. Oop. This wasn't actually going to do much for us. All right. I think we have all the things we need now. So user info, we'll do user equals find author ID and return helper get URL for user get email address. That's not actually what we return. Let's do this. Display name. Get username. Now that should be what we need. Let's see if that helps here. Not really. I think that's because of the cache. So cache clear. That only works if we were using the cache, and I don't know if we were. Rebuild that. Let's see if this helped. Ooh. Seems to have lost everybody. Let's see. Author info decoder. Avatar helper. So it's being passed Gravatar helper interface. So let's see, helper. Service ID, templating, helper, gravatar, avatar class. All right, so what I need to do is bind an interface. So we're gonna say, what was it called? Copy reference. So we're gonna say that this class, which is actually an interface, is an alias of this. And I think it will work. Let's see if we can rerun it. No, templating helper gravatar. What did I do wrong? Templating helper gravatar. It's right here. All right, so that seems to have fixed it, but it looks like the cache did not. Where is CLI? Let's do del author info. It's gonna make this comes in a little more complicated, but check it out. My user has an avatar and a display name. So that's working, which is good. I'm happy about that. Yay. So in theory, anybody watching the live session now would be able to see my chat as it goes through. Again, I can't tell whether this was done during the actual recording or not. So what I'd like to do is get this out. So in case anyone wants to try it on the live stream, they can. In the meantime, I am going to pull up Illustrator and see if I can get my logo, little rocket logo, working. So let's do, all right, so all right, so I got the rocket, and I should also check to see how they actually get set up for the other classes. So let's go to Astrocast, public build. All right, so they actually have a little thing. Let's duplicate. Save a copy. SVG. All right, so let's get this on there. And make the color black. Oh, no, that didn't work. Why is that not working? Now, you know what? I just realized this is not on the right screen, because that's really boring for people to have to watch me do this offline. All right, so I want to so this is the path. Not really sure why it's not filling. Ungroup, let's try that. This is far more annoying than I thought it would be. I think what I need to do is open a different version where it's already black, which really just feels like I've given up. But so be it. All right, there we go. Oh, so it didn't actually keep the There we go. Sometimes graphics programs just confuse me a lot. It seems like it should be easy. I usually get it, but once in a while it just does not. All right, so I'm going to save this now. I thought I already saved this. assets. There we go. All right, so we have Astrocasts rocket. We need to go to our Webpack file and add a new one called Astrocasts rocket. Rocket. I think that means we need to rebuild completely from scratch. And then we can go to our session file. Instead of logo, let's use Astrocasts rocket. And same thing on live. And let's reload. All right, cool. So we see the little rocket. Looks like Supernova's added some comments. Let's see the live site and see how that deployment has gone. Live, sweet. All right. Ha! It worked. Awesome. But we do have to add our SVG. The things that actually, Supernova, if you're there and you're logged into your Astrocasts account, it would be great if you could try this from Astrocasts as well, because that would be pretty cool if we can get that working. So the thing that we need to keep in mind here now is that this should only be available while the session is live. So let's go ahead and say if in progress will show this. So if we go to, say, session 14, we don't have the chat message. That's not actually the one I wanted to go to. Oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? Cannot add event listener of null. And so that is in our web component. Supernova said they sent a message on the site. And it looks like it. Oh, did you reload though? Did you reload? You might have to do a hard reload. Because if it was still on there from before I deployed, then it wouldn't actually work correctly. I mean, it wouldn't have worked, though. I don't think I deployed it before. You shouldn't have seen the chat box if it wasn't going to work. Maybe it's not working then. If chat input form and chat input so we're only going to show the chat box if the episode's in progress, and on the JavaScript side we need to make sure we don't try to add an event listener to the object if it doesn't exist yet. Cool. Oh, you know what? I know what happened. cores problem. Huh. So the problem that I was seeing, Supernova, just so you know, this is a little weird. If I look here, this is my astrocast.test site. I'm not going to see anything that you posted to the public site. So if I look over at the live site, astrocast.com, I can see the Discord messages that you posted. So, or not the Discord, but the Astrocast site. Let's get from the site, hard refresh. I see my previous messages. Cool. Yeah, so that's working. So there might be some other cores problems that might be unrelated to our site. I've noticed that in the console, there's all sorts of weird things happening with like Intercom and Twitch and Vimeo, where I think they're trying to do things and it just doesn't work. But it doesn't impact the site any. But I suppose this is interesting to see if this is actually a problem at some point. But I am seeing the messages that you sent, and if I do a hard refresh, I believe I should see the Astrocast logo correctly now too. So cool. This is all working pretty nicely. I'm pretty excited about it. I need to do some more design stuff because I don't really know if I like how it looks here. But yeah, it's coming along nicely. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. So thank you all for joining today. I'll be back again next week, probably trying to do this same thing, but probably add the capability to know that if something is recorded live, that's the default behavior. But if we end up on a page like this episode where it's already in the past, I want the chat message box to still show up, but I want the message to be added at that point in time on the video. So the timestamp is not going to be UTC now. The timestamp is going to be the broadcast time plus the video player offset in UTC. So it should be a lot of fun trying to make sure that that gets handled correctly. It also means that I'm going to have to start finding a way to monitor this chat information a little more closely and be able to go in and do some moderation. The other thing on that is that right now the actual order that the messages come in is more or less linear compared to time, but we're going to start getting episode or chat messages with a ID that comes far later, that actually has to be sorted in earlier. So I think we're already handling that, but there could be some weird little gotchas. So have a great weekend and thanks for joining.